matters, but there are things that because of that method was it is a big bottleneck, right? And so it was like, okay, he tells me after like all last week, he's like, dude, I don't want to be a macro, like I hate managing. That's what he says. He's like, I didn't I
he just wants to work on the game too.
he just wants to, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, why, it's like this is not something I enjoy, and why is everyone, the situation
I just
comes
don't want
up, yeah,
to focus in core.
yeah. And so the thing was like, oh, okay, and I think this is a thing that we're trying to, you know, again, uh, there's very many different uh, uh, ways, thinking styles here, right? And so it was like, okay, what is the like? Not so much. Okay, this is an issue, but how do we get beyond this, right? It's like, yeah, that is an issue that uh, SDF has to confirm everything, right? And it's like, and it's just making the overall quality of the product worse, right? So I think that's the other thing that we kind of getting from the sentiment right now. It's like slowing things down, and it's like not enough news. And so how do we fix this, right? And so he was like, okay, let's get down to the core issue. It's like I have my hands in too many things all at once right now, right? And it's like there's things that actually I don't, you know, I don't really need to be involved with. And there's some things that I should really be involved with. And so, but because there's this overflow of information coming in, it's like, first of all, you have to do context switching all the time. And then at the same time, because you have this flood, is like, even prioritizing this is, so it's like, okay, in big categories. And this kind of came down to like, hey, what's the most important thing? Where can he bring the most amount of value? Is for Dark and Darker, I think a lot of the original why people fell in love with the game is because of the core gameplay itself, right? And just having that kind of unique feeling, that first person fantasy power, power fantasy that you could fulfill in here. But the thing was then there's, so this is a generalization of like game development. How we do it here is that there's core gameplay development, there's the system stuff. That's my area of expertise. So that's where I've been, that's my experience for like the last 20 years. And then there's like the content stuff.
To help people understand what each of those layers is, can you give examples of something that belongs to the core, something that belongs to like the systems, and then the wrappers around that?
Yeah. So the core, we will say, especially for our game, is like the combat. So anything that has to do with the actual, like the moment to moment. So like movement.
The basic movement.
Yeah, movement is actually
blocking.
Like blocking. So all the stuff that everyone hates us for right now.
Blocking.
Right? Yeah.
Long sword.
Movement, like, so all these things that are so critical, right? But the thing was like, so, and you guys have been very loud and clear, like, hey, these are things that are being ignored, right? And the thing is, it's not, like he said, he didn't take up this job because, oh, I love managing people. It's the opposite. It's like, oh, I just want to work on making freaking cool stuff for the game, right? But being in this kind of, being thrown into this leadership role is like, hey, where everyone's expecting it, and we have all these external challenges. It's like, oh, okay, you have these super responsibilities. So it's like, okay, I'm a leader, I'm going to take all the responsibilities, right? And then that was kind of the internal, introspection. It's like, hey, wait, but moving fast while, we had to fight, having a very clear, concise, direction, that's great for that. But then now we're in that growing stage, right? And we try to grow, and then using this process, it just hinders everything, right? Everything now gets, you have 100 people all saying, "Hey, Dad, is this okay?" It's like, oh, wait.
그러니까 개발 초기에는, 회사 초기에는 사람이 적으니까, 그리고 자본도 거의 없었고,
Yeah.
뭐 사람들은 우리가 엄청 큰 투자 받은 줄 알지만 돈이 아예 없어서 맨날 빌려서 했기 때문에 그때는 이제 실패가 허용되지 않았고, 그래서 어떻게 보면은 최대한 한 사람이 디자인한 것처럼 나와야 했고, 그래서 이제 컨펌을 다 했던 거죠. 근데 지금은 이제 사람들이 많아지고 훨씬 더 회사가 커졌기 때문에
그리고
혼자서 할 수 있는 한계가 있는 거고.
그리고 그
그래서-
코드 이제 그러니까 그 베이스 yeah. So what he's saying is when we started.
프로세스를 이제 바꿀 필요가 있는 거죠.
Yeah.
그 과도기에 있는 거예요.
Yeah, so the difference is that we have to the company's at a different stage from what it was before, and the issue is we were trying to run the company like it was still at the first stage where like the first stage was like, hey, we had very few people, we had no money, there's this
10 people in a gym.
yeah, exactly. There's this kind of false narrative that, oh, we had this huge, some rich daddy that came in and just like, hey, like it's not, like there was multiple times like I was like, dude, how are we gonna pay salary, or like I had to put in personal loan. We had to go beg, it's like the stereotypical like prototypical like startup journey, right? But at that time is because the stakes were so high, it was like, okay, we couldn't afford to have mistakes. And so that's why it was like, okay, if there's a mistake, I take full responsibility for those mistakes. And so that's why I'm going to make every decision, because if there's a wrong decision, you don't need to worry about it. I have to worry about it. But once we're past that stage, we're now at, almost 90 people, right? A little under.
90.
Yeah, 90. But it's like, you can't be, anyone that's raised kids is like, hey, 1, 2, but it's not linear. It's like
Right.
responsibility. It goes up exponential, like the attention that you have to give, right? And so that's the state. Is like, oh, okay, and actually we do a disservice is trying to be that kind of helicopter parent, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take all the. Now is that stage. So this is that big, the town hall talk yesterday. It was like, hey, you know what? It's really scary, even for me too. But now I have to let you guys go, and you guys have to fail.
Well, this is also important because it shows. I think this is great for the players to know, but also it's great for the company because it shows trust that the team leaders who have been here for a while now have sort of proven that they should be trusted with this responsibility, which is, I think that's important because it means that they've got enough experience under their wings to start doing interesting and fun things and take some risks and actually try to do some crazy stuff, and maybe it'll fail, but maybe we learn something from it.
So again, my my weakness is I'm always too long-winded, right? So
you don't say.
We're talking about a lot of these abstract stuff, but the change, the reason I'm giving this backstory is because so he realized, okay, I have to delegate, and I'm so sorry to we had really excellent people that were here that's no longer here, and if they were here now at this new stage, maybe it would be a different story. So but the thing is, because he could delegate, now he could start focusing his attention on specific parts, right? So the thing is the big decision is okay, what was the biggest value was, hey, focusing on the core gameplay stuff, right? Like trying to do all the content stuff, trying to do extra system stuff is he doesn't have as much experience there, but with the core stuff, that was all being ignored, right? But that was what made the game so great at the beginning, right? And so that's the concrete message. The abstract is this is all in the background. The concrete, what's actually going to happen is he's going to focus back on the core stuff.
Just one day, but
yeah. So even
bunny hopping will go on.
So I'm bringing this up because all day yesterday, all he was working on was bunny hopping and trying to get rid of bunny hopping.
You hear that, Chad? I want to stop for a second to talk about that because this has probably been one of the things that people have been the most concerned about, is that we were just going to blow past all of the gameplay issues and the system issues and not care about all this stuff because we brought it up 5 months ago but then never touched it. As we're working on the bunny hopping thing, I'm sure there's a lot of people in chat that are very excited to hear about that.
Yeah, but you need to have this background context to understand why everything took so long, and then to also know he worked on bunny hopping for 1 day, and
also that goddamn hot swap.
The hot swap, the hot swap. Yeah.
Fixed also.
so this is because he's able to focus on now, instead of micromanaging everything. It was like, okay, you know what? Last week we had this and the community obviously contributed too. It's like, hey, what is the issue here, you guys? And it's like, okay, let's do it. I'm gonna let go. The content stuff. So the content stuff is now, he's like, hey, if it goes bad, don't blame me anymore. Now you guys need to blame. Right? But if the bunny hopping stuff, if the hot swapping, that stuff, yeah, you know what? That's my wheelhouse. The throwing, yeah,
insanely, that will be fixed also.
So basically, again, he worked on this one day, and now I'm very hopeful because even after last night, I was like, oh, he's like, okay, why is this acceleration vector still here? Okay, what? So it's not going to be a perfect solution, but I think we're going to get the first, protection against that coming in this next patch, right?
Maybe I think it's enough.
Yeah. So he's very confident already, right? So it's coming in 오늘 할 거예요? 모르죠.
Yeah, today.
Yeah. So today. So one day of effort, actual concentrated focus on it, and we're gonna have a solution from bunny hopping, right? And so the thing was, hey, blocking is. I mean, we just got started. Give us a little breathing room. Right?
근데 거기는 이제 그 네트워크 이슈가 레이턴시 이슈가 더 큰 거라서.
Yeah.
근데 그래도 뭔가 do something. Yeah, we will do something. Don't worry.
So yeah, he just say the blocking issue is a little bit more technically challenging because of network issues, right? So that
it's heavily dependent on latency, right? And it's really like client, or it's really on the attacker's side.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, this is just a lot of words, but I think so. Bunny hopping, that's something concrete, and hopefully, if you guys will see that in the pudding with the patch, right? And so, we want to start talking with our actions again. And so if he's focusing on that stuff, so maybe so on the system side, that's the part that I'm going to have a little bit more leverage on now, right? That, and on the content side, we have our other lead game designer here, and he so if things are kind of funky there, that who to blame over there, right? But again, it's just we've been working as a team together and kind of getting that team chemistry working for the last 2 years. So I think now having these spheres have a lot more freedom is gonna hopefully make actual content come out faster.
So
we
this
was implemented this week, like yesterday.
Right.
So we have yet to see. It's going to take a little bit of ramping up time.
This is going to also be part of the feedback cycle that we're talking about, where once these things get implemented, we will be paying very close attention to how it impacts players and what the expectation is to resolve it, or sort of what the ideas are around it. And as much as I want to continue with this topic, we do have still a lot of stuff to get through, and we don't have too much time to do it because I know SDF has some appointments later. So on the topic of actually like trying to get into experimenting and trying things, there was a mention of a pretty major change coming between distinguishing normals and HR from each other. And that means returning to a more hardcore version of HR. You guys want to talk about that? Because I know that's one of the big things that people are really, really interested in hearing about. And I think it's it's going to be interesting.
They're interested, and they're a little worried, right? That's the other aspect.
그래서 하드코어 무슨 뜻인지 잘 설명해 줘야 될 것 같아요. 그냥
뭐
옛날로 돌아가는 거죠. 그러니까 이제 그 머지할 생각을 버리는 거죠.
Yeah. So I think so like we're two very different type of game players, right? And so the thing was like, he's very competitive, very, very, very competitive, right? And just like likes that kind of the grinding, high tension, And for us, I think that's a great way to build a solid core gameplay, right? So like the combat, making those things very solid, right? But the thing is that when we came out, that was very, very attractive, and a lot of people got onto it. But then at the same time, because it's so brutal, it made it, the accessibility very, very difficult. And so for me, I'm a little bit a step down there, and I was like, hey, if we want to make this a more mass appeal, I'm not trying to make it I realize this is still a niche hardcore game, but that, hey, this is maybe a little bit too difficult, for people to really get into easily. And it's like, maybe we could bring it down a little. And so this was that kind of constant struggle back and forth for like the last year and a half, right? And so you've seen now is that we've made a lot of changes to make to the normal dungeons. Actually, so we've applied that stuff universally because we had this kind of philosophy. Is like, hey, the high roller and the normal is like, it's kind of this one kind of continuous path, right? And then we had this assumption that, hey, you start here and eventually every single person should be playing high roller, right?
And we know from the 50% that are in 0 to 24 that is not true.
Yeah, but so the thing is like, so I think that the context of, or that message kind of got lost. Is like, hey, it's not a bad thing that there 50% of the people are playing that. Yeah, that was the realization that we made. Was like, oh, people. So that, but the thing is, hey, now, so that was actually like a signal to us. As, oh, okay, we succeeded in that second quest of making the game more accessible, right? That kind of pulling it down. But the thing is, now the issue for us is like, hey, it's lost a lot of that. It's kind of diluted a lot of that, the uniqueness, that the flavor, that the original game had, right?
A hardcore experience. So, there was no Squire gear. You didn't get potions to start with. If you sat down, you lost your rest and health. Everything was brutal. You would not, when you first started playing the game, you wouldn't expect to extract for 100 hours. And when you did, it was a very exciting thing.
Exactly. And so the thing was like, so that was the difference, is that we had this talk is like last week or 2 weeks ago. It was like, you know what? He's like, the high roller shouldn't be for everyone. It's actually, that's the hindrance. That's what's making the game actually worse. It's like, hey, it's like in WoW, you have the 40-man dungeon. It's not, you don't expect every single person to be able to go and defeat that, or you don't expect every single person to be playing at the top scale of like Counter-Strike ranked or whatever, right? It's like, hey, this should be its own unique experience. And so it's like, hey, now this is my playground for my original vision of that kind of super brutal. And so I was like, dude, go for it, right? So that was our whole struggle back and forth. It's like, okay, but it's like, now we have this kind of space here where people kind of start acclimating, and it's like, hey, the people that do want to take it to that next level, we lost that playground, right, bringing everything down here. But the thing was like, hey, but in actuality, what was the thing that made this game really unique and sexy was that those points, right? And so it's like, okay, go hog wild on what your original vision for that.
So we've got the context. Now we know.
Okay.
What are we doing?
Again, we're really, really sorry that this is happening mid season. But the thing was like, hey, first of all, he's super, oh man, okay, I get to do what I really, really wanted to, right? But the issue is, we know that because of the new systems with the random dungeon system, the continuous, is that we can't just, so the original plan was, we're gonna go back to like the original system with the random portals, the dark swarm for the high rollers, right? So you're not guaranteed to make it out now, right? So it's gonna be a brutal survival rate for the high rollers. But the thing is like, oh, but we have all these additional systems and we don't know how this is going to all play nice together, right? And it's like, and I'll be pretty transparent. It's like, we don't, internally too is like not all the people here. We don't have enough resources that could play at the very highest levels inside the company, right? And so the thing is like, if we want to do with that limited resources within the company to just fine tune all this, it's going to take forever. And so we're like, okay, we have this concept and we want to bring back that kind of original appeal of the hardcore, but we want to do it soon and we want to get it fine tuned and ready enough for the next season. But the only way we could do that is that we have to start working on it, testing it, fine tuning it.
노멀에는 없을 거예요.
네?
그러니까 high
Yeah.
roller only.
So this is high roller only. This is high roller only.
That's not going to affect normal dungeons, everybody.
We need your help. Yeah. Again, so it is going back to test server. We really, you know, it sucks, but it's just it's a matter of doing it. Can we do it internally? No. You know, that's kind of the. It's going to take too long.
I do want to quickly address one point that people have brought up in chat, and this is something that we've talked about before. You know, we've been asked if we're going to do something like this, use the test servers, and we've tried this in the past, and overwhelmingly the issue with using the test servers for these things is that people don't play it. We get a lot of tourism on the test servers where people will go and they will see the new changes and they'll say, okay, here's what's here, but then they don't actually stay on and play it. So we don't typically get very good feedback from test server use cases, but the idea with our improvement to communication and trying to move faster to react to problems is that if we run into situations where something that we've now pushed live is on the server and people are saying overwhelmingly, this isn't good, it needs to change for this reason, or that something mechanically is wrong with it, we'll be able to react faster to it because that's kind of what our new communication strategy is, to say, hey, the community is trying this new thing that we've pushed live and everybody's like, oh, actually this doesn't work, and like it's being abused and people hate it and it's ruining the game. The intention is to be able to respond to that feedback quicker and actually make changes instead of letting them sit for, you know, however many months. Test server unfortunately just really hasn't given us that capacity, so the communication and like quick reaction to things is more the strategy now.
Well, so again, because this kind of internal change is pretty recent, and so the other thing, you know, I do want to say is like, hey, we haven't given up on the test server. It's actually, you know, we do want to utilize it. Again, there was so many things vying for priority. It was like, and so everything became the same. And I think this is something that we're gonna have to relook at.
Right.
Like you're saying, is that you know, communication, that was another big downfall for us recently. I think, you know, it is kind of this perfect storm of bad stuff timing. Like, you know, the first one was we had the Lunar New Year's here and people were kind of burnt out. So it was just like, hey, you guys take a rest, you know? So it was just like nothing, like literally nothing was going on for a week here, you know? And then we did that drop. And then the lawsuit stuff was a big mental distraction too, right? And so it's just like, you know, a little bit of that shell shock. We're kind of coming out of it now, right? Like having this talk and being, it is pretty whatever that word is, right? Reinvigorating, right. Okay? So
yeah, just to clarify, it doesn't mean that test server is never going to happen. It just means that the current iteration of it hasn't worked the way we wanted it to. So there, you know, we're constantly thinking about ways and talking about it in meetings. How can we incentivize
give us a reason to play it?
Server? What's
give us a reason to play it? A skin or a special weapon or something
that makes it useful to us. It's not like we're never going to use test server. Just kind of explaining why it hasn't worked for us to this point.
Yeah. So exactly, current implementation needs a lot of work. When and where that work's going to happen is, we haven't rescheduled that yet.
Right.
But we'll see. But like communication, you know, so Grayson, so I think, you know, background here was like, for Grayson, it was like he was working at the office, but, you know, a majority of the people on our Discord are, you know, international, right? So the time zones didn't match up. So now we're like, hey, you know, you actually, to communicate with the community better is like remote work, you know, have the crazy hours at night.
Dude's not here, man.
But he prefers that anyway because that's his normal schedule. So
yeah, he's like a vampire.
Shout outs to Grayson if he's in the chat here. I assume he is working. He's up right now, but
should be sleeping now.
he should be sleeping.
Yeah.
So before we move on real quick, can we just confirm, the patch is supposed to go live today. Can we confirm what is exactly going in with the new version of HR? Because I know people are going to be very curious about it, but can we give a definitive, here's what's coming to HR with the change today?
Well, yeah, so the definitive is this, the dark swarm, the circle, the dark swarm is returning, and then the pop-up, random portals are coming.
Is that for blue and for red, or is that just for blue for now?
So
그런 디테일들은 이제 계속 바뀔 수
yeah,
있어요.
so the thing is
처음에는 좀 마음에 안 들 수도 있어요.
Yeah, what he's saying is we're still, because those are table changes
down to the
still,
wire,
right?
Yeah,
down to the wire as always. But so those could change, like the time again. So this is why we need that kind of the hardcore expert, advice for those people that play that is like, okay. The other thing we know is that because the reward table right now, that's going to be off skew because the risk is going to go up a lot,
right.
But then the reward is still not, going up. And so again, this is stuff that we're going to have that kind of conversation back and forth to figure out, okay, what makes this worthwhile for you guys? Because right now is, first of all, we just want to get that visceral, getting back in there and having that brutal hardcore feeling back. So there's a lot of different knobs, and again, so circle and random portals, that's the two big guarantees right now.
Gotcha.
Like we're actually experimenting with Fog of War, like the continuous dungeon, like how bad, the entering time, like how far can we push it where it feels super bad, or this is kind of acceptable, or and maybe it's like, we can't make CMM work with this, right, or not. But
that's actually a good segue to talking about some, we want to talk about the pillars that were mentioned in the first episode of Tavern Table, especially the social pillars, which are, as was talked about previously, sort of one of the main focuses, but also, the design intentions with CMM and the randomized dungeon. Randomized dungeon, I think, overall has been a huge success. And in CMM, in my opinion, in a lot of ways is really good. But I think one of the main issues that a lot of people run into is the enter game, leave, get the UAV, see what's going on with the lobby, come back in, and it just turns into a death match. Or you're like 8 minutes into the game and you're still dealing with teams. How do you feel about where CMM is? Is there any plan to change the way specifically like extraction portals work so people don't camp them and then play safe around them? I know it's kind of a lot of questions in one.
Yeah. So that last question, like extracting. So again, now we're kind of, splitting up. Like, hey, normal is higher survival rate. It's a little bit, more. So hey. If you want to camp, and they want to run, it's like, dude, that's the normal experience, okay, right? So again, right now in our head, that's kind of the sphere because we just split it. Who knows? There's probably gonna be like we split, and then there's gonna be things like, oh, this was not that bad. This is okay, and it kind of swaps things.
Right.
But like the spectating stream, so it's not per se like stream sniping. That the UAV, we internally call it like spectating sniping,
right? And
we think we see that as a huge issue with the CMM right now. And so, but the thing is like, so we have some kind of safety solutions that we could turn off and on with settings with the CMM internally, and I think we're gonna start testing that out on the high rollers because. Honestly speaking, like, you're not really doing a lot of spectating sniping in the normals because like, oh, okay, I did all that work and I got like blue riveted gloves or whatever,
right.
It's like, it's a bigger issue for the high rollers. And I think, the other aspect of the CMM we have to consider was like the efficiency of the server cost, right? Is that, but because now we're not trying to push all these people into high roller, It's like it's a much smaller portion of the community that's playing high roller. Right. And so we're like, hey, you know what? If we could improve the overall experience of this small high roller and make it a really good experience, but it costs more for us, we'll eat that cost, right? And so we could change around these kind of settings with CMM that will raise the server cost for us, but then that will make a barrier for that kind of spectator sniping. And so that's another thing that we've been talking internally. Like I've been talking with the CTO a lot this week, right? So these are things that having this kind of new philosophy of like, oh, okay, this isn't a game for everyone, the high rollers, is like, oh, okay, now we could start actually pinpointing and doing, highly targeted, solutions for
surgical changes for the hardcore experience.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, like I said, I when I first saw the changes, I was a little skeptical of it myself, but then sort of understanding the philosophy of separating the two and knowing a lot of, really hardcore players that enjoy HR, I think there's potential for it to do really well. Of course, it's going to require some modifications, but I'm interested to see what happens with it myself. I've seen some pretty good reactions in chat. It's I think come as quite a surprise to people, but I guess we'll it's like we said before, we're going to push these things live and try to react to them quickly, and we'll see how it plays out. Since we brought up the sort of general design intentions, we don't really have time to like kind of wax philosophy of the game overall and where we see it in 10 years. That's something that we'll probably get to in a later discussion. But we should talk about the social pillars, and we actually have some slides that I'm going to go ahead and pull up here.
Yeah.
Regarding the Gathering Hall, which is going to be one of the main focuses for the next season. And Terry, during our last episode of the Tavern Table, you sort of mentioned that the fourth pillar of the game being the social aspect was something that we really hadn't touched on very much, and that we needed to make it more of a focus, because back in the day when people started playing Dark and Darker, the fun RP interactions in the dungeon and the social space is really what kind of helped the game grow alongside the hardcore aspect of it. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the Gathering Hall and sort of future intentions with guilds, and maybe even if there's any kind of integration with religion, etc.
The first thing is, so our, for next season, so we're getting kind of close enough that we're trying to think of, hey, what we have to prepare for the next season, upcoming season, right? Is that what's going to be the kind of, we want to put in like one kind of big pillar system each season, right? And so for us for the next season is that, hey, we wanted to actually start, we talked about the social aspect, and we want to put in some of the groundwork for that. And then the other motivation here was like, hey, the tavern's gone, Otto's gone, but it's like, hey, he's still here in our hearts, but we want him, in the game too. Is like, okay, so for us is like, the first thing is, hey, we want to give people, this is again an experiment for us, but I think we're going to get really good data out of this, is that, hey, we want to give people a space that they could call their own in the game, right? And so, we wanted to do some kind of housing stuff, but hey, that's a lot of effort for, individuals right now. It's like, hey, let's start off with more of a kind of a community thing. So the first thing is, it's going to be the return of the Gathering Hall, right? So the original Gathering Hall in the game right now is just like a text base, because we're really big into like Battle.net 1.0, right? That was kind of
the old Diablo HUD.
Yeah, so if you see the trading post, you could kind of tell where that inspiration came from, right? But the thing was like, hey, we've kind of advanced, we've made a lot of different kind of progress in video games. And it's like, hey, so for now is like, and we do come from this era as when we play games and for building communities, like when we're playing CS, right, is like now everything is so the actual matchmaking, but we come from the era is like, hey, you go in, you get that server list,
right, and
then you're like, oh, okay. And the thing was like, you find that one couple server, you favorite it, and people know your name, and because you play at the similar times, you see the same people and stuff, right? And so that was kind of the inspiration for us here, is like, hey, we want some kind of that serverless kind of feeling, right? And so for us, it's like we've pretty much re-envisioned the gathering hall as like a custom servers for people. And so
for playground and
yeah, for playground.
그래서
So
그러니까 사람들이 좀 모여서 놀 수 그러니까 던전 말고 그 경쟁하는 던전 말고 모여서 놀 수 있는 공간도 있었으면 좋겠고 뭐 상상해 보면 사람들 모아서 대회도 열 수 있을 수도 있고 듀얼 대회 같은 것도 열 수 있을 수도 있고
so
뭐 숨바꼭질 같은 걸 거기서 할 수도 있고 뭐 하여튼 재밌는 것들 많이 할 수 있게.
yeah, so the thing was for this, at least starting off, is we wanted, hey, the dungeon is all awesome and stuff, but hey, a place where, you know, especially going with the super hardcore mode too, is like where you have a place where you're not always with the super high tension. It's like, oh, you can still participate in the game, you know, in the community itself, but now you're just kind of just hanging out, right? And so that's what we wanted to
네,
create.
우리 게임은 이제 같이 할 사람 찾는 것도 좀 힘들잖아요. 그래서 게임 안에서 친구를 좀 사귈 수 있고 이런 플레이스가 있으면 좋겠다 이런 생각들이 있어서 이쪽으로 우리가 디자인을 한 거죠.
Yeah, so the other thing is like even if you have friends, it's like it's hard to even hang out virtually with your friends in our game, you know? It's like you're just sitting at that main lobby screen. It's like, damn, why isn't he clicking ready or whatever, right? So yeah, if you see, this is our mock-up right now, the game design for the first iteration of the tavern, or sorry, the gathering hall. It is going to be so the other kind of caveat here is that starting off is that it's all going to be private custom servers though, right? So it's, hey, like so I'm kind of giving some insight into the technical structure of how our game is run, right? Is that every dungeon, everything is actually, when you're in the 3D space, is running on the dedicated Unreal Engine, right? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's actually pretty pricey, right? And so the thing was like, oh, okay, running one of these servers for us is, when we looked at it and crunched the numbers, it does become a little unsustainable for us. So I think that the original vision right now is like, hey, we're going to give you guys a lot more customized, control with it, but then you have to actually rent the servers. It's like, renting your own Battlefield server, or renting or having your own Rust server. I think like one of the things we're looking is like, oh man, we do envy like what Face Punch has built up with, that Rust community and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I mean, they not like that kind of structure.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
네, 그래서 뭐 여기 이제 체스 미니 게임 이런 것들도 만들 수 있고.
Yeah.
근데 그걸 저는 사람들이 크래프팅으로 만들었으면 좋겠어요. 그래서 사람들이 루인스에서 나무를 캐는 모습을 보고 싶고. 그러니까 그래서 누군가는 태반에 그냥 체스 게임만 30개 놓고 체스 대회 열 수도 있고요.
Yeah, so he's saying it's like, he wants to add, like, people will be able to customize it. They could do things like, you could go and chop wood, and then you could craft that wood into like, wooden chessboards, and like we'll actually make a chess mini game that's not, and all of this stuff is like stuff that was already in Ultima Online, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Okay?
Because I'm a fan of Ultima Online.
But you can make your own octagon in there. These are things that, like, again, that's not coming out in version 1.0, but that's the way that the vision is going. Is like, hey, so it's like if you made a chessboard, you could just call your gathering hall, hey, serious chess players only or something.
We have a chess league, and people are gonna have to show up with their chess rating in the title of the gathering hall. So is this version of the gathering hall sort of laying the foundation for like guild halls and sort of just general social spaces?
So this is the first step into like seeing how receptive people are into having this kind of social space. And then the other thing is that, yeah, we do want people to be able to form guilds. Is like man, so again, nothing's been decided yet, but we've been going back and forth, like, the actual going back to the hardcore vision is like So again, this is not happening this season, but maybe next season. Like one thing we've been talking about is like, hey, for high rollers, there's no duos and solos, you know.
Oh, wait a second. No, so trios only on high roller potentially.
Yeah, only high. Again, it doesn't make sense for normal, right? But so these are things that we're considering. But then, hey, if it's trios only, it's like, then do we have a sufficient enough system in place that people could readily find, proper parties? Oh, that's going to be very difficult. But that's what we're hoping that this, the gathering hall could hopefully kind of fit that kind of hole, right? Again, these are high hopes. We don't know. So, but we won't know until we actually experiment, right? So that's our driving goal. And we think, hey, if that works, then guilds actually makes a lot of sense. It's like, hey, you come in, I played a bunch of EverQuest, and the first thing I log in is like /G. It's like, hey, everyone, and it's like, you /G, list. You see who from your guild is on, and you're like, hey, what are you guys doing? It's like, oh, I log in and I go into my guild, my personal or our personal guild gathering hall. I have the special privilege to get in there. And it's like, oh, hey, there's Odin. Hey, what were you planning to do? And I could see you there, right? That's kind of our hope here.
Yeah, I remember early on SCF talking about how it was supposed to be sort of a MMO light in a sense, or kind of like a making multi-worlds, and I can see, kind of where you're going with this, with being able to create these persistent parts of the game that uplift the social aspect, that make the actual gameplay aspects of the game better, and having a social space where you can just basically pop in and see, okay, who's online? We've got these 3 people that I normally play with are all waiting for a match right now, but 2 of them are actually waiting for somebody else to get out of their match, so I'm going to team up with this guy. That is such a great idea, and I wish we had that right now. That sounds super fun. I know a couple people who are already plotting to take over Dark and Darker with their guilds.
That's awesome. We, my goal is hopefully we'll see like Odin's #1 fan base fan guild, gathering hall or something, right?
Let's be honest, it's all going to be Otto. Where's Otto? That's going to be the top guild. Otto's squires will be the top guild. Hey, I mean, the social aspect of this game is, like we mentioned before, a very important part of the game, and really one of the early driving factors of the game's growth. So it's good to hear that there's going to be a lot of focus on that coming up. So moving on, kind of to expand a little bit on that, I know this is somewhat of a weird jumping off point, but I wanted to talk about something cool that we looked at today, and just to keep in mind for everybody in chat, this is an early mock-up. This is not a finalized version of it, so bear with us, but we are working on an arena spectator system, and this is something that people have requested for quite a while, and this is, it's a little too early to talk specifics, but we've mentioned before that we do have some interest in doing tournaments down the line. And
this is my first time seeing this, but this is
really
awesome.
Yeah, I saw my first time today earlier too when SCF sent it over to show off to the stream. But I was really excited about this because the potential for us to be able to facilitate tournaments, but also for the community to be able to kind of run their own tournaments is really exciting. So I think this kind of highlights to me, an interesting turning point for the game, where social aspect is becoming more of a focus and more tools are being given to the players. This is just really exciting stuff. Can we talk, while we're on the topic of this, can we talk about Arena a little bit? I would like to kind of get us into the Q&A section here. We asked some questions. We have
Arena. Yeah, so again, Arena's his wheelhouse, right? That is.
그래서 일단 지금 아레나 시스템은 MMR에 좀 문제가 있고.
Yeah. So there's definitely issues with the MMR system on the arenas right now. We know that there are, we were actually knew about those holes, right? And
그래서 이번 패치하고 아레나 테스트 시즌 2를 끝내고 아레나 테스트 시즌 3를 시작하면서 MMR을 좀 픽스를 할 거예요. 수정을 하고, 그리고 그게 끝나면 아마 이제 정말 이 정규 시즌 다음 시즌에는 아레나 시작할 수 있을 것 같고, 그때는 아레나 보상도 있을 것 같고.
So the issue with, I think because of those whole loopholes with the MMR system is that there's the faith in MMR as a representation of your skill is like it's ruined right now, right? And that's our fault. And so, but the thing is, like, it's difficult to start with this polluted data and then try to clean it up again. And so we came to that decision is that, hey, so we're gonna end this arena season. We're kind of chalk it up to, oh, okay, we messed up. Right?
We're taking the L on this one. We're taking the L.
Yeah, but hey, well, all that data is still saved, and we're gonna have it in the leaderboards. And again, we're still thinking about ways to like have the old like Easter eggs and stuff, right? So that data is gonna be saved, but then because we know the fix for the current loophole, of kind of what's it called, like MMR abusing. Yeah, we just call it MMR abusing.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. So we're planning to cut off this, and at least for the next remaining time for this season is like try to get a cleaner representation of arena. And then so we're gonna call it like early access arena season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Actually it's like 2.5, but yeah. The other thing we're doing is that we are, this next update that's coming out tonight is there's gonna be the random dungeon system is being applied for ruins and the goblin caves also. And so and we've added so the big win for the random dungeon system is now we could start putting in modules just as individually. So you saw that with like the Inferno.
Right.
We're gonna have new modules in, and some of the new modules that are coming in like were actually built specifically with like arena in mind. And I think you're gonna see the refresh of the arena maps for season 3, 2.5. We're gonna call it 3.
좀더 그러니까 아레나 테스트 시즌 2에는 맵을 좀 좁은 맵들 위주로.
Yeah, so he said, for this current season, arena is like he purposely wanted to see how arena works with like this really tight, tight corridor type of maps.
Wasn't a big fan.
다음 시즌에 아마
it's gonna be a better.
좀더 밸런스된 맵 위주로 선택을 할 거야 아마.
So it's gonna be a better.
They're
mix.
yapping. We're listening to him yap.
Yeah, he's saying it's gonna be a much better. Because he plays arena religiously. Like,
oh yeah.
On Mondays, he's like, he'll sometimes come in late because he's like, oh, I stayed up all night because I had to grind my, right? So he knows, yeah. So that's like another ulterior motivation for like 2.5, or the next season is like, okay, yeah, we're gonna update the maps.
So we're looking to update the maps. We're trying to fix some of the MMR abuses that people have been going after, and I know people have asked. Go ahead.
그 옵저버 시스템 관련해서 좀 얘기하고 싶은 거는 이 옵저버 시스템이 아마 가을 정도에는 다 만들어질 것 같아요. 제 생각에는.
Oh, so yeah, the picture you showed of the observers or the okay, what is it?
완전히 잘 만들어진 거 하면 아이언메이스배 토너먼트 한번 해보고 싶어요.
Yeah, so yeah.
각 리전
이거 언제까지요? 언제 생각? 근데 we don't know. Yeah, I don't want to.
뭐 올해 안에 할 수 있으면 좋고. 그래서 리전별로 제일 잘하는 팀 찾아서 다 뽑은 다음에 이제 마지막에 선정된 팀 4팀 정도를.
So he's talking about trying to do like once we get this system in, is do an official tournament, So.
그리고 이제 선별된 리전별로 선별된
by region, right?
초대해서 한국에 초대하고. 여기서 대회
He's like, yeah, dude, he's going all out. He's like, hey, we're gonna fly him out to Korea and then invite him here.
준결승이랑 결승 그냥 한국에서 한번 해보고 그냥 우리끼리 재밌게.
That's exciting stuff.
하는지.
그 생각 있어요. 그 한국 팀은 우리 QA 팀이 이길 거예요. 제 생각에.
뭐 그럴 것 같긴 하지만 근데.
I think our internal QA team would be.
이제 그렇게 말하면 한국 플레이어들이 이제 엄청 열심히 할 거예요.
No, that's awesome, right? I think our internal QA team is we have some of the best players here.
I think everyone watching the stream right now would like to take a swing at him and find out if that's real, if that's true or not.
Right? So that's what he's saying. Is like me saying that I just put a big target on the back.
That's right. We got a bounty on all the Iron Mace developers now. Get out there and show them what's what, guys.
Not all of like. Trust us. There's levels even within the company. Like I try to play a lot, but I can't even hold a candle to some of these guys. So up there is like, wow. Yeah.
All right, well, promising stuff coming for Arena. Real quick, I do want to just address, because I've seen a number of people ask about Arena rewards. The plan is to have Arena rewards at some point, but as we mentioned before, the
next season. Yeah, so he's saying that. So again, so the Arena right now is it's
still a test.
It is. Yeah, it's still a test.
And it wouldn't feel
and obviously a test, because you saw like we made these huge blunders with MMR. It's like it's just not ready. Right?
And also I think people would, in general, this is something I've spoken about in the Discord, is that I think in general people would not be satisfied with us giving out rewards when the best strategy to get the top rank right now is to sit in the swarm and heal. We know about that. We're working on fixing it. So it's. This is why the rewards are not coming just yet, but they are in the works. But we do have a ton of questions that we grabbed from. We opened up a channel on the Discord called the February 2025 Q&A, and we did grab a ton of questions. We're running a little short on time, but we're going to try to get through all of them. And if we have some time towards the end, we will go over. I know SCF has some time restraints, but we might be able to show off some stuff a little bit later. If if he has to leave a little early, we can still show off like the remaining teasers that we have. But as far as the questions go, we'll just start right from the top. And again, these are questions that we got from the Discord, but we don't have the names attached to them. I apologize. Next time we do this, we'll try to grab the names as well. But first question on the list: have you ever considered changing the revive mechanics, especially with the random dungeons? It can sometimes be like almost impossible to get a teammate back. Just bad luck with res tables, continuous matchmaking, constantly pushing teams into you. Is there any idea of changing the revive mechanic for teams that lose a team member?
For me, I've never thought about this, right? So because there's so many other stuff that is just like way like fix the game, right? kind of issues. I guess maybe this is
저는 이거는
This is an issue.
플레이 할 수 있다고 생각해요. 밑으로 심장 가지고 내려갈 수도 있고, 그러니까 여러 가지 선택지가 있어서 이거 뭐.
He's gonna say play cleric.
Yeah, so he's saying he doesn't really see it as an issue right now. It's like, dude, there's multiple strategies. You could grab the heart, go down the level, or and me, I'm being very open.
They
out
have
of
a
the
very
list of things
microscopic
I
view of their game.
had to think about, this was not even on it.
All right, well, I guess we'll come back to that one another time. The next question that we have on the list is there any plans to add new stats or adjust existing ones, especially stats like true damage and add damage, which are currently sort of dominant in most people's kits? They kind of prioritize building it over mostly anything, particularly true damage. Is there a chance to add new stats or address those existing ones?
So a question for SDF.
네, 그런 생각도 있지만 근데 일단 시즌 내에 이런 일은 잘 없을 거고.
Yeah, so within the season, he's not planning to do it.
랜덤 옵션 변화는 아마 뭐 준다고 해도 다음 시즌, 이번 시즌.
Yeah, so this season, there's no thoughts of doing that. Maybe if it happens next season, but yeah, like 뭐 추가할 거.
없어요.
Yeah, he's not really thinking of adding.
베이직 스탯들은 좀 조정해야 될 것도 있어요.
Yeah, so there are things like adjusting curve tables and stuff. Like I think even this next update that's going out tonight is that.
네, 말을 해주면은 안 될 것 같고.
진짜요? 왜요?
그건 패치노트에서 보는 게 좋을 것 같아.
오케이. 그냥 뭐 큰 거 아닌데요.
근데 이제 그런 거 걱정하는 거죠. 그러니까 바꿀 수도 있고 마지막에. 아니면 사실 그것보다는 사람들이 이제 시장에 너무 영향을 줄까봐 미리 말을 해주면 그래서.
Okay. So he's saying he doesn't want to give insider information because people that hear this podcast and not they're gonna have a head start on the marketplace, knowing, oh wait, this is going down or this is going up.
Gotcha. Okay, so secret until the patch notes, but there may be some changes.
I wouldn't even have considered at all.
Fair enough.
I think you'll have impact, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Will existing weapons get additional moves or attacks? Something like the felling axe getting a right click for a new swing.
So.
네, 최근은 아니고 좀 됐죠. 예를 들면 이 무기에 있는 바디시나 창 같은 것들이 그 디펜스 메소드가 있잖아요. 근데 이게 그 임팩트 레지스트가 너무 낮아서 실제로 쓸모가 없었는데 그걸 이제 버프를 해주면서 사람들이 이 무기로 막는 모습들이 좀 많이 나왔거든요. 그래서 아마 코어 메커니즘 건드리면서 무기에 좀 블록이나 아니면 뭐 패링 같은 것들 좀 더 많이 추가할 수도 있고
Okay, so
아니면
he's
좀
saying
다른
is
것들 더 추가로 개발해 볼 수도 있어요.
so okay. The short answer is yes. He's thinking about it because now he's refocusing on combat, and so obviously the weapons, the move sets, like and one specific example he brought up was like like the Bardiche or some of the staff weapons, they kind of did tune some of the impact resistance on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sees more people using it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a good sign that hey, if it's worthwhile in battle, and we can make it can make the it's something that he would consider adding to more weapons.
Gotcha.
If people use it.
We have a question here that's regarding are there any changes going to be made to Continuous Dungeon? I think we kind of already touched on this topic a little bit, that it's something that we're still evaluating and addressing as we go. But just to kind of address this question, are there any immediate future changes to Continuous Dungeon? Anything that we're thinking about in the short term?
그러니까 뭐 그런 거 좀 당연히 조정은 있을 건데 이제 우리 한국에선 난입이라고 표현을 많이 하니까.
Yeah, the re-entry.
네.
So I think that's the part that we need to really start looking at and adjusting the most.
네, 그 시간도 좀 조정해야 될 거고. 근데 사실 더 중요한 거는 이제 탈출이 너무 쉽기 때문에 지금은 그러니까 그 던전 모험하는 그런 그러니까 리스크 리워드 이런 게 좀 밸런스가 맞아야 되는데 지금은 되게 완전 캐주얼하고 이지하게 진짜 이지 액세서빌리티 높이고 싶어서 이렇게 해놓은 거잖아요. 그래서 그런 것들은 아마 조정이 좀 될 거고 이건 노멀이든 하이롤러든 좀 많이 다 조정이 될 거예요.
So I think he's talking about because especially like the current system, like escaping is relatively speaking, historically is pretty easy now, right?
Except in Inferno.
Yeah, except for you're right. So so that's something that we're gonna actually kind of consider is like, hey, so again, it goes back to that risk reward evaluation. Is that I think we kind of did underestimate how much easier escapes are gonna be with the continuous dungeons having so many blue portals, blue statics, and the rate of reward, high reward items being able to be taken out. So I think there's going to be adjustment going on, but again, so we're going to do things one by one, and we're actually going to start like separating out, like have our domains to instead of hey pumping everything on and then one by one coming out.
Good to know. All right, so
oh wait, so okay.
Just one more.
Yeah, so one more point.
지금 조금 아쉬운 거는 이제 다운스테어 같은 데서 싸움이 일어날 때 너무 쉽게 내려가 버리니까 거기서 이제 리스크 없이 파이팅하는 모습이 좀 많이 나오잖아요.
네.
그런 것 때문에 아마 상호작용을 해야 문이 열리게 한다거나 그런 식으로 변화될 수 있어요. 네. 그건 조금 시간 걸리겠지만 한 2주 정도.
Yeah, the other thing that so this does go back into that risk reward. It's not just changing the loot table. Like one of the things that we're actively exploring right now is like the static down portals and there's like you have to actually interact with it to open, so
right.
it adds a little bit more risk. It's not just
that actually addresses the next question that was on the list, which was about dealing with people camping extracts, which is another really big problem, especially in HR, is that people are just they're sitting next to the Reds and taking very low risk fights, and if they lose, they just leave. So it's good to hear that this is being considered. So this is something that may potentially change in the future. That's very good to hear. The next question is related to mobs a little bit. I think mobs have been something that haven't changed very much in the recent time with the game. Are there any plans to make adjustments to AI behavior? Any changes to spawns? There's there are some spawns that can be really difficult for certain classes. If you spawn in with like multiple Nightmare Axemen, you might just be screwed based on your spawn.
Yeah, so I think that's the issue of us not going through, like reevaluating. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of polish that hasn't been done properly. At least when it comes to the monsters itself, is that I think so. There, the monsters, there are some bugs in the system, and so we're trying to.
네, 그 얘기를 좀 해줘야 될 것 같아요. 그러니까 지금 많은 사람들이 그 one monster guy 알고
One
있죠?
guy.
Yeah, the monster guy.
근데
Yeah,
이제 많아졌어요.
yeah. There's multiple. Yeah, there's three. Yeah.
문제는 이제 이 사람이 테크니컬 디자이너였기 때문에 그 뭐 언리얼 엔진 이야기지만 블루프린트로 좀 많이 만들었어요.
Yeah.
그러다 보니까 그 퍼포먼스나 아니면 뭐 퍼포먼스적인 문제는 그렇게 없지만 약간 로직 쪽에서 우리가 그러니까 쉽게 말하면 이렇게 되면 그러니까 레고 블록으로 이렇게 조립을 하게 해주고 싶은데 지금 모래랑 그걸로 다 물로 다 차로 진으로 만들어서 이렇게 만들고 있는 거예요. 그래서 그러니까 플렉서블하게 변경하기도 좀 어렵고 그런 상태라 이걸 지금 다 리팩토링 하고 있고 이 리팩토링 다 끝나면 아마 생산성이 많이 올라갈 거고 그때 AI에 대한 어떤 발전 이런 것들 좀 생각할 수 있을 것 같아요. 지금은 이제 레거시에 만들어둔 안 좋은 로직들 이런 것들을 다 리팩토링 하는데 시간을
그거를 설명하고 싶은 거였어요. So again, this is something that's hidden in the background. Is if you know our history, and we built this game like just hey off the shelf as fast as possible. So and we had the one monster guy, right? And he did an outstanding job with all the the limited resources that he had, right? But basically, like he was just like, okay, I have this parts, and I'm just gonna. It's kind of like hard coding like each monster. Like he just blueprint all the behavior by itself, right? And now that has limitations because you're like, I want to take this part from here, but you have to build each monster this way, right? So it's like he was saying, it's like he built each monster is like you had clay and then you have to sculpt each monster, right? And now, but the system that makes sense for us is like, we should have like Lego blocks, and it's like, okay, I want this monster. Oh wait, I need this part here, and I can make another monster, right? And so in the background, what we've been working on for like the last 3 months now is that we've actually been refactoring and making like an actual monster system, the first blocks, right? The problem is then you have to get all the old monsters and then remake it into here, right? And so, and at the same time, we're testing that it's like, hey, we need new swimming monsters eventually for the next, the biome, right?
Right. The water map.
And so, the water map, which comes with it's a whole another set of challenges, right? So, so until that system, is ready, not even production, is like somewhat set, is that there's kind of this slowdown, blockage for new monsters coming out right now.
So mobs are going to mostly stay the way they are until this new system to kind of be able to take bits and pieces.
That's why it is buggy, because it wasn't made by a programmer, right? It's like, okay, hey, there's this bit of logic I could cut here, and we're gonna see how it works out.
So just a quick kind of tack on question to that. It wasn't on the list, but I've seen a few people ask this in the past. Is there a plan to add special version? We already kind of have the unique mobs, but is there a plan to add special variants of the monster where this one leaves behind a flaming trail? It's got the special warlock, I can't think of the name of the spell right now. The
monster,
flame walk. Give a monster flame walk, or give a monster an ice shield or something.
몬스터가
뭐
특별히 주나요?
그러니까 같은 몬스터인데요. 그냥 버전이 조금 다른 거예요. 그래서
I like a unique monster.
kind of like unique monster. 근데 뭐 얘는 지금 이제 예를 들면 뭐 플레이머. So again, this is we never thought of these. This is real time. Wait, that's not a bad idea.
그러니까 이런 아이디어는 그냥 많으면 많을수록 좋은 거예요.
Yeah. So the thing is,
시간에 따라서 계속 만들 수.
What he's saying is having a pool of these kind of ideas to just when we have the system in place, and then our monster guys now, it's that monster guys, okay?
Monster guys, it's not one guy anymore.
Yeah. So, but again, we're kind of clearing out all those kind of stupid technical debt that we built up ourselves, one by one. And so the monster thing was a kind of a really big thing. But, you know, it worked really well for what we needed at that time. But to expand quickly and for other new higher monster guys to learn and build upon it, like that old system is not good for that, right? So that's why we're reinvesting in making a new system.
Gotcha. So mobs will be mostly unchanged for a little while, but the new system is going to bring along some pretty sweeping changes, at least the ability to develop further.
네, 뭐 몬스터로 플레이하는 것도 할 수 있고 이블 아이도 고칠 수 있고 여러 가지.
Yeah, so the evil eye is broken because of that system.
I'm sorry to the evil eye guy.
R.I.P. evil eye guy, but so it's not just that system.
Not
yeah,
just
there's
a
a
system, but
yeah.
it's related.
Yeah, it's related to that system.
Gotcha.
So.
All right, well, there's hope on the horizon for evil eye guy then. Okay, so going into this is kind of a big one, and this ties into, I think this goes back to like training even, and like subclassing, but it's kind of an all-encompassing question. Is will multiclassing or something similar to multiclassing, subclassing, something like that, either return to the game or like an entirely new system be developed?
멀티클래스.
네, 그러니까 멀티클래스는 지금 말할 수는 없지만 엄청 휴지 프로젝트의 그 일환이에요. 그러니까 그 연결돼 있는 거. 그러니까 이 멀티클래스 하고 있는 이유가 있는데 지금은 이제 말하지 않을 거고.
Yeah.
네, 멀티클래스는 앞으로도 이벤트로든 뭐든 계속 있을 거다. 근데 이건 너무 중요한 거예요. 왜냐면 되게 그 퓨처 플랜에서 우리가 지금 그 빅픽처를 보는 게 꼭 필요한 거고.
So,
근데 서브클래스 시스템 이런 것들이나 그 이제 사람들은 트레이닝 빨리 해주고 싶기를 원하잖아요. 근데 그건 좀 고민이 많이 있어서 아마 지금은 포커스가 그렇게 높진 않을 거고 아마 코어 컴뱃 시스템 이런 것도 좀 많이 고치고 나면 그 다음에 아마 생각할 것 같아요.
So, you know, so what he's saying is going back specifically this part. Will the multi-class system come back as events? Yes. We know people
like
don't like like
just
very
1 week.
short-term events. The reason why is because for us is when we do this, we get this kind of internal data that really helps us kind of clean a lot of things up. You know, find kind of big loopholes. And at the same time, it kind of battle tests the kind of structure of how our abilities and you know how all those systems. And there's another reason. There's another secondary reason we want to strengthen this up is because so I see people, oh yeah, test server. But the thing is, we need the critical mass of people testing this to find that those combinations that kind of, you know, break that system, right? And because we have plans for augmenting the system in other ways that have to do with the kind of the strategy of the company, right? So
I think a lot of people are optimistic about subclassing or sort of class trees to sort of expand on individual build identity, but I think multi-classing is not something people are too excited about.
So yeah, unfortunately, so yeah, there's two kind of needs there. Is like there's the needs of the company and the development and the improvement of the, you know, the game structure itself. But at the same time, yeah, it does have that kind of you know, detrimental effect on the players, right? So I think this is something we have to be more careful about. But at the same time, it's like, you know, the player base going and trying to break that system is so valuable for us. And then it helps us make, you know, better stuff in the future. But he did mention like the subclass system or the, you know, the like a training system is that it's always in the back of his mind. It was a high priority at one point, but the thing is like now, you know, he's kind of understood, hey, these kind of systems, they have layers, and right now there's so many super high priority stuff on the combats, you know.
The fundamentals need to be addressed first.
Yeah, and so now that focus is let's get all this stuff fixed first, you know.
Gotcha.
So bunny hopping, hop swapping, you know, like target sizes not matter, you know, matching up,
Panther head hitbox.
Blocking, that kind of stuff. That if this isn't fixed, you know, like
everything else doesn't matter. Right. I got what you're saying. Right. Okay.
It goes this way, yeah.
So the combat, the core systems first, then expanding on the rest, which I think that's what most people would expect anyway. Let's get into, we've got some economy and kind of like trading related questions here. What are your thoughts on the religion system? Because we recently just made an update to it. It still hasn't had a ton of impact on the game itself, but it has made a big difference in the market. How do you feel about the massive shift? I mean, 200K is a lot for even players who play a lot. I can't imagine that the average player could afford a 200K skin.
지금 저는 한 10만 골드 정도? 반 정도 했어요. 근데 이 시스템 디자인 할 때 저는 10만 골드 정도 에이밍하고 이제 만들었는데 우리 디자이너도 20만 골드를 원하더라고요.
네.
근데 그렇게 했는데 지금 생각보다 이 골드 싱크가 너무 세요.
Yeah,
너무 세서.
So he's saying is when he originally designed the system, the intention was like, hey, that cat was at 100,000 gold, and right now he's at that level, right? Personally, with his character, and it was like that we probably overestimated, and that the gold sync effect is having too much of an effect,
too much of a swing.
Too much of a swing, yeah. And so that was our mistake in, you know, kind of gauging. So
아마 다음 시즌에 좀 조정될 것 같아요. 이번 시즌에 직접 조정하진 않을 거고.
Yeah, so he's saying is so we missed the mark this season. We're not going to really touch it, and we're going to try again next season.
Okay. Have you ever considered? This is kind of a parallel question to something like a solo self-found. Have you ever considered disabling the market for the first couple weeks of release?
We actually talked about.
We decided next season.
There
will be no marketplace at the
beginning.
At least 4 weeks. Maybe.
For the first month.
So we were talking about
news. This is the news. We're just hearing this for the first time.
No, so Tarkov did this, right? This season, or I think this wipe, right? And I think like it was pretty evenly split between this is great or this sucks, right? But
the thing try was it like, though, right?
That was our thing. It was like, hey, yeah, it could be disaster. So it was like we saw Tarkov and it was inconclusive. That was our response. Was like, hey, there's very, very passionate people that really hate it, and there's very, very passionate people that really like that, right? And we're like, okay, what's the pros and cons?
Somebody was asking for clarification. Is that going to include both the marketplace and the old trading system?
Yes. So it's just that was the thing. It was like, hey, so this is this came up because we're talking about like, what is the original super hardcore vision that you want to establish for like high rollers, but then the effects of the marketplace do have that kind of dilution effect, right? And it was like, okay. So
그리고 이거는 이제 테니한테는 얘기 안 했었던 건데.
He's saying this. I'm hearing it for the first time. He never told me this.
그런 생각이 있어요. 그러니까 예를 들면 보스라든지 던전이라든지가 이 시간에 따라서 우리가 지금 위클리 그 퀘스트 오픈하잖아요. 그런 것처럼 스케줄드 된 상태로 이 시즌에 맞춰서 이렇게 천천히 오픈되는 거를 지금 생각하고 있으니까 첫날부터 모두가 다 뭐 보스 킬링하고 네임드 들고 다니고 이런 걸 원하지 않고.
Yeah, so okay.
뭐 예를 들면 이건 그렇게 될지 모르겠지만 첫 주에는 고블린 던전만 있는 거야. 전부 다 고블린 던전만 가야 된다거나. 뭐 그건 이제 생각해 봐야
So he's just brainstorming, throwing out, but he's like, hey, so okay, it goes back to the issue of like, hey, all this content all at once, right? So that's the thing, or is it gonna? Do we want something that, things are like with the crafting system with the quest, how it locks it by the week, right? There is feedback saying that sucks. We want everything all at once, but I think that there is excuse me, I think first of all, we do have seasons. That's part of the reality of our game is that, hey, so can we make this, the progression of the season be more meaningful? And so that's the thing that we're kind of exploring. So, and again, that topic did kind of branch out from the hardcore, making the hardcoreness of the high rollers. But it was like, hey, that's a very interesting question. And we are kind of curious about, okay, how will that change players' behavior? Not being able to sell things right away, right? And again, this is the inception of the idea right now. It's not fully. So he said 4 weeks right now. I was like, whoa, because yesterday, is this even possible or not? oh no, should we do it or not? It's like
maybe no trading just for HR.
So we'll see again, but that's a super interesting question, and it's just very timely too. So
I see a lot of the streamers in the chat just laughing at each other, saying no more handouts for you. They're all guilty of it. You know who you are. But that's interesting. Hey, I mean, listen, I would love to try solo self-found. I know a lot of I will say, of all the things that we've talked about tonight, the potential of no trade for the first 4 weeks is the thing I saw the most W's in chat for. So we'll take that with a grain of salt.
뭐 근데 재밌을지 안 했을지.
Yeah, so we don't know, but we have our assumptions, and we kind of differ too. It's like,
뭐 해보고.
We'll make an internal bet.
So on the topic of the economy there, this is kind of the last trading and economy related question. Keys have been a big point of contention across the game's lifespan, and in the past, keys were sort of a major part of content. The key rooms used to be where a lot of engagements would happen, and people would use them because they were valuable as usable items. But now their market value, because of gold storage and how much inflation there was, you don't use keys. Even Mystic Gems, people really don't use them. You can if you want to make a video about it. It's obviously a big content thing. But is there a plan to do anything with keys? Maybe make them drop more frequently. Maybe make them bind on pickups so you can't trade them, or maybe make them much more valuable to use. Anything like that?
키를 뭐 더 밸류어블하게 만들고 이런 것도 중요하겠지만 그것보다 아마 이것도 얘기 안 했던 건데요.
So
그러니까 어제 생각한 거라서. 그러니까 다음 시즌부터는 드럼 레이트가 좀 바뀔 것 같아요.
Yeah, 저도. So
더 많이 내려가고 좀 이렇게.
So I think we had to readjust so part of the reason that they're previously they were actually worthwhile using because the drop rate, like if you want the exchange for potential exchange rate or the effective value kind of matched what you could get from the keys. And right now it's just like everything's so abundant. It's like, okay, it's just more of a symbolic thing. But yeah, so internally, so he's saying, I haven't told you this, but it was like we're on the same wavelength. We think there has to be a readjustment to the reward, risk reward right now.
뭐 조금 설명해주면, 그러니까 지금 이제 드럼 레이트가 이렇게 돼 있는 거는 옛날에 우리가 이제 기어 스코어 시스템 같은 것들이 없을 때 아래쪽에서 위쪽을 좀 빨리 쫓아갈 수 있게 해주려고 이렇게 한 건데, 지금은 이제 기어 스코어 시스템이 완전히 자리 잡았기 때문에 그렇게 해줄 필요가
필요
없어서
없고 이제는 다 보내야 되는 것도 그 생각이 없어지니까.
그래서 기어 스코어 별로 뭐 드럼 레이트 달라질 수도 있고, 뭐 그건 이제 앞으로 또 고민해봐야겠죠.
계속 그거를 하고 싶었죠.
So 전체적으로 좀 다 그 리워드 시스템 자체를 다 바꿔야 돼요.
Yeah. So these are things that we had internally discussed a lot. Is like the risk reward right now is very, very skewed, and you're gonna see it again with the first version of the super hardcore high roller coming out. And people are gonna be like, dude, the reward's not worth it, and we know that, right? And it's just not easy to fix all in one go. So I think that's something. That part is going to be returned to my wheelhouse, right? Or I'm going to work on it with our lead game designer, right? Is that, hey, this is something that we could work on together. It is a pretty huge kind of endeavor right here. It's like it's multiple different tables, but that's something we want to address, and the keys are linked to that. And then at the same time, I know the content team now has ideas to make keys more valuable, right? In a different way, that kind of links to this, but makes it more fun too. Right?
Well, so here's a follow-up question that kind of links into that, and that's: is there any plan to add like kind of events to the map, or maybe hotspots where like a circle shows up, even if it's in the fog of war? That's like, hey, go here because there's going to be high rewards here. Maybe the loot's boosted. Maybe there's more spawns of sub bosses. Maybe you have a higher drop chance for certain materials. Maybe that could be an indicator for where the key rooms are. Something that people have asked about is like events. Is there any plans to maybe keys could tie into that somehow?
뭐 그런 아이디어도 재밌겠지만 지금은 이제
So
네.
that all sounds cool, but it was just like, yeah, we haven't really, like deeply actually thought about that, because it was just like, okay, foundational stuff was like building this game is so difficult because there's all this stuff that we're just kind of
too complex.
Yeah, the complexity is so so like, and we're we go this way and then we go this way, and then we finally we feel like we're getting better at that. So like random dungeons and CM continuous matchmaking was the result of all of that kind of searching. But even here it's like, hey, there's still those complaints about like, we haven't really got the polish down there, right? And so when you bring up something like events right now, it's like those are stuff that we talked about when we were super naive and innocent about, game, we're gonna make this game that's gonna have everything. But now we are like, okay, wait, we gotta fix this, and everything's like leaking, and it was like, okay, we'd love to have like the nice
So in summary, it's from a technical level, it's this is very potentially a really big challenge, and there are other things that are sort of taking priority.
I'll be honest, we don't know. It's just like right now, we don't have the liberty to even investigate that right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's try to get through these next ones real quick, because I know SDF needs to get out of here soon. Will luck be changed in the future to have more of an impact, or at least maybe be a little bit more clear? Right now it's, there's luck grades for items, but also your luck value can affect it, so it can be kind of unclear what luck really does. Is there any chances to maybe make it harder to get it, but make it more effective?
So I think the main issue with the current luck, so there is a problem with readability on the luck system, but I think the bigger problem came with, we adjusted again. All of this tied into the risk reward system, the loot drop tables, right? Is that it was built with a certain assumption that loot is going to be very difficult across the varying grades. But the thing is, like right now we just went like, boom, and so the current luck system, the impact of it, because it had this assumption that a certain amount of this lower grade loot would, had a high percentage chance coming out. And what luck actually does is it does raise the higher ones by a smaller amount, but the big thing that luck, as the current iteration, was that it drastically reduced the rate of low grade items. But the thing is, like, hey, we just gave everyone a bunch of luck by just making all these low grade items not
right
drastically lower anyways. So that's why so it does warrant adjustment, but at the same time, we've been hinting is that, hey, the entire loot drop system requires adjustment, so this has to be in tandem with that.
Gotcha. This next question that's on the list is something that we've already answered, so we're gonna go and skip that. But real quick, any ideas for kind of end of wipe events? Or any plans to? I've been asked this question a lot. Any plans to let uniques into Arena? People are wondering, hey, should I sell my artifacts, or should I hold on to them for Arena?
So he's the master of the arenas, right? Yeah, so he says for sure he wants a unique.
그거 얘기해줬어요. 그러니까.
So missing point there.
그 아레나 시즌 3 시작할 때 이제 SSF 아이템 아닌 것도 쓸 수 있을 거예요.
So for so this is a good point, that important point for the when we start the next arena season, within this season, right? Is to get that higher participation for that very last, kind of run of is we're gonna switch on that mode where the item no longer needs to be SSF.
Okay, so any it doesn't have to be minted. So we're gonna do like we did last season, where this last test. Towards the end, people will be able to wear.
So again, it's just to get higher participation into the arena because we're gonna stress test that MMR, right? Because we're putting in those kind of restrictions to kind of exploit the MMR system.
Gotcha.
So that was one point that we missed, but that's very, very important.
People are just real quick. People are asking. I'm just gonna let them know. Yes, there will be arena rewards. Not yet. We're still testing. It's not final yet. Okay. So next question is a pretty big one, and I think this is something that people have really been asking for a long time. Will there be any updates to the inventory system and any QOL features for inventories? Things like potions and arrows take up a lot of space, but we're also supposed to be getting more utility items that were mentioned in the past, and that could cause a lot of congestion in the inventory. And even things like your own stash, gold storage can be kind of frustrating for the casual or average player not being able to get chests and bags. Are there any plans to change player inventory and any plans to change stash, any QOL, things like sort buttons, search functions?
그래서 뭐 소팅이라든지
네, 근데 뭐 더 중요한 거는 그거죠.
퀴버.
네, 퀴버하고 뭐 그 컨슈머블 배그 이거 이런 거. 네. So
근데 뭐 그거는 중요하지만
중요해요. 중요해요. 제 생각은.
네, 뭐 게임 코어 좀 보고 그 다음에 포커싱 할 것 같아요. 아니면 저 대신 포커싱 해줄 수 있는 사람이 있으면 뭐 해줄 수 있고요.
오케이. 제가 지금 있는. So we're saying okay, we're trying. It's it's kind of a high impact system, and so
그래서 이건 좀 신중하게 해야 되는 거라 생각은 있고, 근데 다만 뭐 급하게 막 추가할 생각은 없고, 근데 같이 이제 보면서
okay.
집중할 수 있는 시간이 필요해요.
Yeah, we just okay. We got the little thing notification that this is really we knew it was because every time we play we're like, oh, man, I'm He always complains about when he was playing Ranger. This is like super high on the radar. He's like, oh, dude, even 100 arrows is not enough for arena.
When's the quiver coming?
Yeah. So again, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But it's important. Yeah.
It's important.
We realize this is again our strong point is not management and scheduling yet. So
okay,
and that's an understatement. So
all right, so the next question I got here, this was one that we got pretty early into the Q&A, but then I saw it again repeated in a different way, so I kind of combined the questions. Is there any thoughts on having the leaderboard open up at the start and starting to use the is there any plans to bring back the old leaderboard system?
old leaderboard. 뭐 그래서 리더보드는 이제 그러니까 우리가 항상 되게 늦게 시작했는데.
네, 그러니까 이번에 한 달 정도 걸렸나요? 그건 좀 안 좋은 것 같고 그냥 전 2주 정도.
Yeah, so
바로 시작하는 건 안 좋다.
Yeah, so I think the other problem is starting it right away. So now we actually have the terminologies, but like when the season starts, we're gonna have like a preseason, right? It's like, and we think that's just because when new things go in, especially when we put in new things, things tend to break, and we need a little bit of time to find those kind of game-breaking things. So I think like this time it took almost a month for us to actually open the leaderboards. It's like that's not what we wanted. Maybe something like a shortened, like a 2-week preseason. That's something more in line of what we think makes sense. So, but like having it start right as we start the season, I think that's just very dangerous, knowing, our history, right? So.
Speaking both for myself and for the players, I think it's not a secret at this point that people are kind of clamoring for a more impactful leaderboard, and that the AP system doesn't really deliver on that kind of competitive system. And especially if changes are going to come to HR, where the swarm might be coming back, and you know, it might be down to portals and stuff. Is there any chance that we see a change to the AP system to bring back something a little more competitive, a little more hardcore?
Well, so again, the you know, the start of, hey, going back to this super hardcore mode only happened very recently, like 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
And so now we haven't thought of all the extra stuff that's attached to that. So we had to start thinking about that.
Gotcha.
But again, yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Okay, well,
생각이 조금 있어요.
we did get through all the questions that we had from there. We have a few more things left to tease and a few like just announcements to make. Kind of, I did see some concerns about people talking about like cheating in RMT as SDF message in. Sorry, go ahead.
So we have something in the works. Okay, so it's a serious issue. We always talk about that, and so
top priority.
Yeah, it's been
trusted account system.
Yeah, so we have something in the works called the trusted account system.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be pretty unique to our situation. Is, you know, I mean, you know, we've gotten some inspiration from other systems that have something similar to that, right? Mm-hmm. But you'll actually see some of the front-facing stuff coming out even today's patch, right? So we're gonna start letting people know, show, hey, how many people I'm reporting and how many actually result in bans.
Count.
Yeah, and we're gonna start leveraging, you know, that kind of system to help the community better alert us to suspicious people. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, we're working on a system is that even when we can't actively be capturing all these people, is that, hey, if there's, you know, people that have that kind of spider sense and they're really good at finding these people and getting it to us, and then we judge and getting banned, is that, hey, we could put them into like a holding area, right?
We will make that guys like a dungeon police.
Yeah. So
he said it.
Internally, we call it like the dungeon police, and you know, so again, so you'll start seeing the forward-facing stuff is like, hey, is we you know, to motivate people, or you know, it's not just motivate, it's like to give you guys the right feedback of like, hey, I'm not just abusing the system. So I mean, and the assumption is like, yeah, you know, not everyone's gonna be dungeon police material, or, you know? But there has to be some feedback mechanism, and so that's the thing. And we're gonna show that to see if player behavior changes, and then use that data to work on this system to help us clean up the dungeons.
I have a next meeting.
Yeah, so he has the next meeting.
We need to keep.
Yeah, so he says we gotta kind of wrap this up now.
Okay. In that case, Terry, do you have to go as well?
뭐 어떻게 할 거야? 근데
뭐?
그러니까 그 다음 회의 있는 거요.
이제 끝? 네, 빨리 끝내야 돼요.
So yeah, he was because we have to get the patch ready. So if it's, you know, I should probably go along.
I can finish things up from here.
Okay. Okay. 아니 그래서 라인 이제 해줄 수 있다.
Okay. All right. Well,
all right. So
thank you guys for joining us.
We're gonna just get a quick bite, and then hopefully we can get the update out pretty soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. We while you guys are here, just so everybody knows, our part of the communication strategy is to try to do these a little bit more frequently. They will most likely be smaller in scale so that we don't have as much of an impact eating up the day. But we will like to try to do some larger, like maybe one a season where we do like really big reveals and stuff. But I'll let you guys get to it. We'll wrap up with just a few of the remaining previews that we've got, and we will call it a night. But thank you guys very much for being here for the Q&A, and good luck with the patch.
Yeah, so thank you so much. again, I apologize being long-winded and just talking so much abstract stuff, but I think having that context really matters. Next time, hopefully, next time, right, Udin, we come out, we have much more actual concrete stuff, and um, you know, that's my goal. That's my personal goal to get better at that.
It was a tough episode to get to because of everything else that's been going on, but we'll keep improving on these episodes in the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we'll see you guys soon then. Thank you so much,
players.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
I feel a lot better, being able to. It was a rough 2 weeks, man, or 3 weeks. So yeah, but
I've got a few more things to basically just to go over on the community side with everybody and just kind of cover those last couple topics. But if you guys need to head out, I can handle that from here.
You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, it's just me now. I'm glad everybody could tune in. Real quick, I just want to answer some questions. I can't go into too many details because I'm not a developer, but I will be able to try to answer some of the questions in chat. Real quick, I just want to touch base on the remaining topics that we had to talk about, which really wasn't much. The season wipe date is currently planned for April 10th. We didn't get. We probably could have done that while they were still here, but it just kind of slipped the mind. To clarify on the Q&A that we did from Discord, there was an open channel where we had asked the community for some questions, and we kind of reviewed and went through to pick out some questions that we could answer. There's some stuff that's still in development or that we can't quite talk about just yet. So there's a limitation on what we can talk about. As far as what we have left to show, I'm just going to give... I don't have too much to talk about here because I can't really give context to it, but... there is a new merchant that will be coming soon that has an affinity system related to growth with it. It is the Cockatrice merchant, and I can show you guys some screenshots of this. I don't have too many details to give you this, but this is something that will most likely be coming with the upcoming wipe. We'll expand more on that in a future update. And there's also something that I accidentally spoiled earlier while I was trying to switch scenes without you guys seeing it, but you saw it earlier, and it is the cannon that is supposed to be something that is featured in the water map. So we'll talk more about this stuff in the future. I can't tell you too much about it without Terry and SDF here because I want to make sure that I'm representing the information correctly. But get excited. There's some cool stuff on the horizon. We will talk more about this in the future. The next Q&A that we do, we will probably try to do live with at least a few kind of pre-captured questions so that we can fill the space in between while we have the moderators pick out questions in the interim. Terry SDF wanted to share these pictures with you guys. There's some construction going on at the office, which is why there was a lot of delays, and this is also kind of getting in everybody's way at the moment. But the Iron Mace offices are undergoing construction. Just to give you guys some assurance, we're not going anywhere. There's still still plenty of investment being made into the company, and there's confidence that we're going to keep developing the game. So they are working on expanding the office. Hopefully we'll be back to full operating capacity soon. And that is basically it from me. I will sign off by saying, as we mentioned before, there's going to be increased effort in communicating with our player base, and that includes, as Terry and SCF were talking about, the dungeon police. There's also some other things that we can't quite talk about yet with trusted reports and just gathering feedback and making sure that we're staying on top of bad actors to keep the community clean. So we are refocusing on these things, and this will be a big priority going forward. We appreciate you guys being patient as we figure out the best ways to do this, but we are committed to cleaning up the community and getting rid of these people. We apologize for, all the disturbances that they've caused up to this point, but that is about it, guys. I will see you all in the chat. I'll follow up and try to answer some questions in chat, but I need to get off of here myself. So I will see you guys all in the Discord. Thank you very much for tuning in. The VOD for this will be uploaded on YouTube, so if you missed parts of it, you can check it out there. We love you guys. Have a good night.
Okay, that's a lot of information. That's a lot of information all at once like that, you know? Guys, that was live from the Iron Mace Twitch. Give him a follow, Iron Mace __. Iron Mace __. Yeah, I like that. Lot of info there. You know what? I didn't check. Let's see if we got any moddies. No, none. Okay, that's fine. Don't need them. But. Bro, spraying arrows. I know. 100 fucking arrows took into the arena is not enough. 100's a lot of arrows. That's five fucking bundles. A lot of stuff to unpack on that stream now. I'm sure there's going to be some talking points put out there and stuff, but I definitely got some screenshots to look at. The Gathering Hall. You like the black and white? It's just a quick filter, you know. Pop it on. Pop it on. I figured that's not my content, so I turned it black and white so that it would be very obvious that I am repurposing it. It does look cool though. Like I truly enjoy like a nice black and white. I have a black and white filter on my camera too right now, I think. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah. They should. Someone's fighting the troll. I can hear him. Oh. This is wild. What do we think? Came from there? Went through here? Or is he in here? He didn't break through anywhere. Everything's flippering and chittering away. There's so much going on in that fucking... I like that they do that, but I feel like they have there's such a better way to do it. And they never seem to give enough time. Although I doing those things myself, I know it's like, that's rough. That's rough to do anyways. And then keep it like in like the right amount of time. Like my brain's still trying. So they said they said HR. None of those are very good. Yeah, it's like they said the right things as far as I'm concerned, right? Like the main one for me being bunny hopping and move speed being worked on. Huge. That's like so huge, right? And it's like I don't know if that's just gonna instantly turn fights on, like for me, right? Like it's not like oh yeah now I'm winning everything, but like I feel like a lot of people rely on those like very complicated mouse movement things and keyboard related fucking abilities that I just haven't developed or like haven't understood the purpose for developing, I guess. But let me see if somebody else has already put out. Let's see. Yeah, Blend was doing a watch party. A lot of people were doing watch parties. No one has any kind of like fully developed reaction yet. I thought for sure they would have it quick. They usually do. God, these guys are like fucking animals. But I'd say like biggest takeaway is there's a patch coming. Like obviously we know that's gonna happen. Probably overnight for us. Yeah, they're probably putting it together right now. Like there's definitely like. I always filter by recently uploaded. So and then you have these idiots who put in the fucking mobile game like it's the same shit. Like that shit kills me. Don't give me no mobile game bullshit. I like this. Okay, let's see. Where's this thing at? Right. Gathering hall stuff. Entry fee, gear score requirement, account requirement, VoIP, interest restrictions. I'm not sure what all this means. Add a delay to dropped items. Here's one that I wanted to see closer. General halls and my halls. General hall. Manage your own gathering hall. Gain access to your own custom gathering place. Currently support up to 30 current players. Customize your hall and settings to give it a unique identity. Control as access. Give your friends the ability to change. Due to cost of running, player must rent. Renting a hall adds 30 days to the active period. When the active period of a hall expires, the hall will be removed from the world. You can add additional time to the active period of a hall up to 90 days. Gathering hall names that fail to meet the code of conduct outlined in the EULA are subject to being removed without refund and can result in the banning of the parent account. Gotta watch your shit, homie. Over here we got settings, players, hallmasters, banned. The name, the password. That was the same thing over there. That's like the options for the hall itself. This rent hall thing must... Do you think they're gonna like fund it with red shards? Or is that like a limitation, like in game, just click rent, and then if you stop renting it, then they'll delete it. Something like that, maybe. This one, you can ignore that part. General halls. You can search just through all the list of halls is what that looks like. Friends, guilds only. Fees, no fees. Available slots. Ping. That's a good way to search. Search for low pings. That's great. 100. So look at this. 1 out of 251 hall pages. I think that's all the ones I grabbed. Oh no, there's this one too. This is like inside the guild hall. I like that. Look at that. You got your like player stuff right here, your name, your title, the guild you're in. That's pretty cool. Very cool. Obviously, like I said, these are just kind of experimental, not fully endorsed. You know. Gear score limits. I guess it depends on like what you're looking for, really. Like what kind of guild you're interested in versus what you're looking for in guild members. Wipe is actually about a month away, about 4 weeks away. That was a good bit of info. Yeah, April 10th, I think. Possible wipe. That's what they're looking at. This is probably going to go offline here. Maybe not like any minute now, but like soon. Yeah. Gotta get some arena in. No new classes. They said that they're done with the Sork. They're gonna have some balance patch shit for the Sork, and then some updated perks or whatever. But they're done with them. Then they're done with him. had to go in. You guys are just fucking running to the back like some pussies. With a wizard, like, you have to go do some warlock shit. Yeah, it's hard to fight a wizard, you know? Nice. You're dead. Nice. Surprised it letting you stay up. Yeah, homeboy had the fucking... I'm gonna punch this guy. No, I'm not. This guy's a pussy. We gotta get their caster, you know what I mean? Did they stay in their room? Yeah. Killed 2 of them. I love fighting the doorway. I mean, that's where it's at, right? Like, that's where people pretty much, like, only ever fight around is doorway. And that's the thing about, like, the fucking sorcerer, too. Like, or the wizard, you gotta make him, like, use his shit. Otherwise, you're pretty much fucked. so close. That was so close. Oh well. Got one more match after this, and I'll be placed finally. I mean, doorways are like natural jam points too. They're constantly fucking fighting in doorways. So is it what, 2-1 right now? Is it 1-1? You can peck him down. He ain't really got much going as long as you got decent aim. I would try to go a little further up. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Keep trying to gain some ground on him. Okay, now rush him. That's hellfire. Push, there you go, yep. Yeah. Good job, he's fucked. Yep. There it is. Don't fucking teabag him. Come on. What are you, like 5? Jesus Christ. They might actually see a potion. Why we got monsters? Did they reload the dungeon? Okay, who's our boy, maybe? Maybe. I didn't bring torches then. What the hell? Didn't do shit. They win. I think that thing should work faster. That fighter is such a he's such a handicapped class. Like it's so sad how like kind of sad the fighter is when it comes to this. It's like a what was that? Oh, 10 players. Okay. No, fuck that guy. Didn't like him at all. Oh, hang on. No, hang on. torches. I didn't have any torches last time either. Don't need this campfire kit. Wonder if they're gonna announce patch notes tonight, or if it's just gonna be taking it offline. We'll tell you in a minute. Kind of deal. I think I have like 2 more matches. Yeah, 2 more games. That's all of them. Holy shit. Oh, that was the bad guy. Nice. It's my job to die. I'm supposed to take the aggro, so level 373. Holy shit. It's nice to win one. The desync. Yeah. That was a little wild, I gotta say. I did 42 total damage that last one. Oops. I think that headshot was on him. I think I hit him. One more. Wait, shit. No, we're good. One more game to get a rating. I got Tinkle. You just shield fighter too. It's always in the bridge, bro. Isn't it? It's always in the bridge. Yeah, it's a ranged map. I'm not very good with range, so. I guess that's what he does. Catch these spells. And he says, hey, come check this out. I will play the game dumb. Wow, let's do both. Go play the game dumb. Together. Let's go here. There you go. Two fighters on the team is not good. Fighters are not good. I'm not good as a fighter anyways, but this rogue guy, I mean, he was good for a second, but... I'm gonna use both my shit. Cool flame wall, bro. Now what? Now what do we do, huh? I've thrown all my stuff at you. Here we go. Yeah. There we go. Oh, you fell down. What? A drag. Oh, he can't go over there. Yeah, okay. All right. Nice doing one. Nice. I killed a guy that time finally. I think it really doesn't matter who's controlling the middle. Yeah, let him just use those. Can't have that many of them, right? There you go. Fuck! That was my last match, though. I gotta go pee-pee. Not a fighter map. No, I mean, I could have brought some ranged, I guess, and switched to it, but I don't know. I don't know the rules to that. Like, do I lose that? Or if it's in my inventory, does it count too? Alright, so take a quick break, guys. You should take a break too. Okay, all right. Hey, I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks for hanging out. Astro. I will, of course, be in the Discord hanging out, doing some after party. I think Chloe and I are going to watch a bad movie or something, so thanks for being a part of the stream tonight. You guys are the best to see. We'll get this patch taken care of. Probably tomorrow we'll read over to the notes and we'll figure out what the hell's going to happen moving forward. But it's been fun, and it's been great, and it's been great fun. You guys make sure to be nice to everybody and don't touch somebody's butt without them saying it's okay. Pretty good rules to live by. No butt touching unless it's consensual. You're welcome.